Chapter 3. Is she confident or just trying to play it cool? Self confidence is the first requisite to great undertakings. Samuel Johnson. Is the poker player sitting across the table from you confident or scared? Is your date really as sure of himself as he wants you to believe? Is the opposing lawyer as happy with his case as he professes? Use these techniques to find out if your opponent is feeling good about his chances or just putting up a good front. To better understand confidence, we must first clear up a misnomer. Self esteem is often confused with self confidence, but the two are quite different. The distinction is very important. Confidence is how effective a person feels within a specific area or situation, while self esteem is defined by how much a person likes himself and how much worthy he feels of receiving good things in life. Simply, a person can feel good about himself yet not feel positive about his chances under certain circumstances and vice versa. For instance, an attractive woman may feel confident she can find a date in the bar, but finding a date has nothing to do with how she feels about herself overall. Likewise, a man who has high self esteem may be a lousy chess player, but he likes himself. He will exhibit signs of deteriorated confidence when playing with a superior player, yet his self worth remains unaffected. A person's confidence in a particular situation is based on a variety of factors: previous performances, experiences, feedback, and comparisons. As well, self esteem can affect confidence. Studies show the greater someone's self esteem, the more inclined he is to feel comfortable and confident in a new situation. However, the opposite is not true. A person placing a great degree of importance on confident feelings, that is, physical appearance, considering himself to be attractive, may exhibit signs of higher self esteem to the untrained eyes. Nevertheless, a person's feelings or self worth are affected more by what he does, free will behavior, and not what he is or what assets are at his disposal. Therefore, what we may perceive as self esteem is really an inflated ego. Self esteem and confidence are distinct psychological forces and both impact the overall psyche differently. While it's interesting to note the source and impact, the origin does not bear any consideration in terms of evaluation. Whether or not the person is confident is the only thing we need to assess here. Where and how it came about is not necessary to our evaluation. So let's return to our immediate discussion and see precisely how to gauge someone's level of confidence. A quick take. When we are anxious or stressed, our ability to focus is often diminished. Have you ever met someone at a party and forgotten his name right after you are introduced? Look at the distraction and the inability to pay attention to what is going on as sign of temporary insecurity. Gauging confidence levels. Now, we will examine what a confident person looks and sounds like so we can readily determine who is and isn't secure. Depending on the situation, we can rely on one or more signs, signals, and techniques. The real secret to reading someone's confidence level lies not in observation but in filtering out the signs intended to give the impression of confidence. We will cover readily known signs of confidence like smiling, eye contact, and so on. But because signs of confidence are easy to fake, we will turn our discussion to more complex factors that are easy to observe and nearly impossible to manufacture. Sign 1: the physical. In instance of extreme fear, when a person is quite uncomfortable, you will notice one of two distinct behaviors. Either his eyes will dart around and he will become easily distracted because he is on emotional high alert, or he may freeze and do the exact opposite. The familiar deer in headlights reaction is a prime example. Let us look at some other involuntary responses a person has little or no control over. First one is the fight or flight syndrome. A person's face may become flushed or turn white with extreme fear. Look for signs of rapid breathing and increased perspiration. Additionally, take note if he is trying to control his breathing to calm himself. Efforts to remain calm will appear as deep, audible inhaling and exhaling. Trembling or shaking in voice or body. This is the second one. Hidden hands may tremble. If he is hiding his hands, it might be an attempt to hide uncontrollable shaking. His voice may crack and seem inconsistent. Quick take. When we are nervous, we take things more literally. When we lack confidence in a situation, our mind tries to get its bearings and we often cannot see beyond face value. For instance, we will often have trouble processing sarcasm because it requires a non logical perspective, and this shift in thinking takes time. Another involuntary response where a person has little or no control is difficulty swallowing. Swallowing becomes difficult, so look for a hard swallow. Television or movie actors who wish to express fear or sadness often use this behavior. Hence, the expression all choked up. Throat clearing also is a sign of nervousness. Anxiety causes mucus to form in the throat. A public speaker who is nervous often clears his throat before speaking. The another sign is vocal changes. Vocal cords, like all muscles tighten when a person is stressed, producing a higher sound, octave, or pitch. Another one is the blinkers. When people are nervous, their blink rate increases. In a Newsweek article published October 29, 1996, Boston College neuropsychology professor Joe Takei made this point regarding the presidential debates of Bob Dole and Bill Clinton during the primary election. The normal blink rate for someone on television is 31 to 50 blinks per minute. Bob Dole averaged 147 blinks per minute and 3 blinks per second. His highest rate of 163 blinks occurred when asked if the country was better off now than it was 4 years ago. Clinton averaged 99 blinks per minute and peaked at 117 when he was questioned about the increase of teen drug use. Professor Takei pointed out that in the 5 elections prior to 2000, the candidate with the higher blink rate during the debates lost the election. Sign 2, that is determining focus. Imagine an athlete, musician, or artist who is in the zone and flawless in his performance. He is not focused on himself, his looks, or his performance. A basketball player, for instance, shoots the ball with the intention of making a basket. All potential distractions are drowned out. He merely has the intention and he carries it out without attention to himself. He is not self aware or self conscious. If he becomes self conscious, he is hyper aware, distracted from what he is doing, and his attention and focus are divided between himself, his surroundings, and others. A confident person is able to focus on the objective and the I disappears. A nervous person has an ego consuming his thoughts because of fear, worry, and anxiety, and he cannot help but focus on himself. He is literally self aware of everything he says and does. What were once unconscious actions, such as where his hands are or how he is sitting, become part of heightened state of awareness. Thus, his actions appear more awkward. Whether in a meeting, on a date, or in an interrogation, when reaching for an object, a person feeling in control of the situation may do so without paying attention to his hands or the object. The insecure person does not feel able to do this because he is unsure of himself. His eyes will likely follow his own movements. Let's further examine the psychological mechanics involved. There are 4 stages to someone's action. Unconscious incompleteness is when a person is unaware that he is not performing correctly. Conscious incompetence is awareness that he has not acquired the skill set necessary to be as effective and successful as he would like to be. Conscious Competence is when a person is aware of what he needs to do, but awareness is needed in order to be effective. Unconscious competence is when a person can perform correctly and as necessary without his full or even partial attention. An analogy of someone who learns to drive a stick shift effectively illustrates the four levels. What is at first completely foreign eventually moves to a skill level at which the driver shifts gears without unconsciously focusing on what he is doing. The second, third, and fourth level gives us insight into a person's competence and confidence level. The first level is irrelevant as the person is not even aware of what he is doing, let alone confident at it. During a casual conversation with a coworker, you notice she reaches for a can of soda well within her grasp. She watches her hand extended to the drink, then she watches her hands as it moves up to her lips. Your coworker is nervous and unsure of himself or herself and does not trust her ability to do what she has done hundreds of thousands of times before take a drink without paying attention. What is usually a manner of unconscious competence moves down to conscious competence, a heightened level of awareness. If you know what to look for, confidence or the lack thereof is easy to spot. Simply observe whether or not the person is focused on himself and what he is doing. Let's consider another example. A single man walks into a bar hoping to meet a woman. If he considers himself to be attractive and good catches, his focus will be on what the woman in the bar looks like. If he considers himself to be unattractive, he will be more concerned with how he appears to them. In other words, his focus shifts depending upon his level of confidence. A lack of confidence forces one to become self conscious or self aware. So, not only will this demeanor be stiff and mechanical, but his objective is geared towards the impression he is making on others. We know this to be true in our lives. For example, when a person has confidence in his words, he is more concerned that you understand him and less interested in how he appears to you. When you are interested in making a point, you want to make sure that the other person understands you. But when you are less confident, your focus is internal, on how you sound and appear. You are conscious of your every word and movement. Advanced signs and signals. Perception management. When a person is nervous but tries to appear otherwise, this leads to what is called perception management, a person's attempt to present a certain image in order to convey the right effect. We discussed what to look for to tell if a person is confident or insecure. Now we are looking for something else. We can look for a sign of someone trying to appear confident. We know a person pretending to be confident is not. Even if he's tried to fool you by not giving himself away with the previous signals, you will catch him here as you learn what a bluffing person looks and sounds like. Sign 1 of bluffing, that is overcompensation. A person engaging in perception management generally overcompensates. If you look for it, it is glaringly obvious. Remember, the confident person is not interested in how he is coming across. He is unconcerned with his image, unlike his perception management counterpart, who is consumed by others' impression of him. A card player bets heavily and raises the pot. Does he have the cards or simply guts? When bluffing in a poker hand, he wants to show he is not timid. He might put in his money quickly, but if he does have a good hand, what might he do? He will deliberate a bit, putting it in slowly, showing he is not really sure about his hands. Mike Caro, one of the foremost authorities on poker strategy, illuminates numerous instances in his book Poker Tales, which involves around this single aspect of human nature. A bluffing person will give the impression he has a strong hand, while the person with a strong hand will give the impression that his hand is weak. When people pretend to be confident in a poker hand or in the real world, they manipulate how confident they appear by trying to create the opposite impression of how they truly feel. Again, while bluffing and trying to appear confident, a player bets quickly. And when he has a good hand, he will actually wait a moment or two, pretending he is thinking about what to do. The principle applies in almost every situation. If he reacts too quickly and assuredly, he is trying to show confidence, when in many cases he really isn't confident. In contrast, a confident person does not need to tell people he is confident. Someone pretending to be sure of himself or anything else will make gestures consistent with the attitude, often going a little overboard. For example, law enforcement professionals know that a person who is lying and so lacking confidence will often show deliberative, pensive displays such as stroking or tapping his chin. He will act as though he is giving serious thought or even the simplest of question in an attempt to appear as if he is trying very hard to be helpful. Another indication of overcompensation with perception management is when the person unnecessarily tries to regain the psychological advantage. For example, a man drops his date off at her apartment and she declares, "It's late. I think I'm going to go to bed." If he likes her and is insecure, he thinks this is a ruse to get rid of him. He might respond with something such as, "I am tired too. I wasn't going to stay anyway." He is likely trying not to appear disappointed. However, if he merely says, "Okay, you must be tired," or something to that effect, he is not trying to manage his perception by offering an explanation as to why he doesn't mind. Quick take. Sometimes people put up a strong front knowing they will crumble if they ever have to defend their position. It has been said the easiest people to sell are those who have a sign saying "No salesman" or solicitors. The reasoning is this: these people know deep down if a salesman did get to them, they would buy whatever he had to sell. Another sign, that is second sign, superfluous gestures. Any superfluous gestures in a serious situation is a sign that someone is trying to act calm and confident. For instance, law enforcement professionals know what a subject may yawn as if to show he is relaxed, calm, or even bored. If the person is sitting, he may slouch or stretch his arms, covering more territory as if to demonstrate comfort. Or the subject may be busy picking off lint, trying to show he is preoccupied with something trivial and clearly not worried. The only problem is that someone who is wrongly accused will be quite indignant and not paying attention to such inconsequential activities, nor engaged in promoting the right image. For example, a detective is meeting with the parents of a young girl who appears to have been kidnapped. The husband tells the detective the girl may already be dead. Shortly thereafter, he is handed a cup of coffee. If he responds with something such as, "Thank you so much, I need this after a day like today," he is engaging in perception management and trying to convey he is polite, considerate, and well mannered, and something is likely very wrong with his story. Another example of superfluous behavior is trying to look the part. When a person alerts his appearance to come across one way and there is no reason for it, he does not really feel what he is portraying. For example, a salesperson of high-end homes meet a potential buyer on Sunday morning. When the sales agent meets her client, he is distressed in a suit and tie on his cell phone, and in the middle of an important call, he has no money. The father of motivational research, Ernest Dichter, says in his book, The Handbook of Consumer Motivations, we attempt to escape fear producing stimuli. By producing fear, we can alter people's behavior. When caught in fear, we regress step by step to ever more infantile and animalistic drives. The more scared a person becomes, the more likely you will see signs of aggression, much like the way a person will go for the ice cream or other comfort foods when feeling uneasy. A person's behavior will drift in a regressive direction. Therefore, look for physical manifestation, anything from oral fixation such as chewing on a pen to egocentric influences like increased anger, jealousy, resentment, envy, and so on. Technique 1, sneezing signs. When we lack confidence and threat level increases, signs of insecurity becomes more visible. Studies conclude that when we are around people we think are better looking than we are, we tend to feel less confident about our appearances and ourselves. The concept is true, even if we did not feel insecure in the first place. You see, by introducing a potential threat, we can more easily gauge how comfortable a person really is with himself and the situation. Look for a shift in a mood. If he becomes angry, rude, inconsiderate, or exhibits general sign of anxiety or nervousness, then he wants out of the situation. A detective is interviewing a suspect, and the suspect seems confident. Either he is innocent or is guilty but knows he has an airtight alibi. When the detective informs the suspect a witness is coming down to the station to see if he fits the description, the suspect may appear relieved if he is confident in his chances or irritated and agitated if he is not. A person trying to bluff in a poker will err on the side of caution by acting kindly towards you. He does not want to risk getting you mad, fearing it may provoke you into calling his bet. Therefore, if you do something that normally annoys him and he remains seemingly unbothered or uncharacteristically quiet, you can be fairly sure he is not so confident about his chances. To apply the psychology in any situation, simply reduce his odds of success and see if he looks squeezed or unbothered.